Oh, that's a good question. Somebody asked me, why do you live in the mountains alone? I guess the short answer to that is to just be free. Free to do the things in my life that make me happy and fulfilled, and to have a low cost of living so that you're not defined by your job and you're not defined by needing to make all this money in order to pay for this expensive life. Living more simply just means that you can spend more time just doing the things that you love and being in love. I mean, I wake up every day so in love with just these mountains and the river and the trees, and this feeling of just being satisfied and content with a simple life. It kind of just eliminates all the distractions, and all that's left is the love you have for everything. I mean, I'm a completely different person since being here, and the feeling of freedom when you're running through a meadow and breathing in the air and just and not being so attached to this material world. It's a really beautiful thing. I've never been happier, I think, in my life. Because once you realize you don't need much to be happy, and that all your happiness kind of comes from within yourself and it's not defined by anything external, all of a sudden, life is just this magical place where you just get to run around and hang out, and I don't know, it's a beautiful place. I'm just in love with life, really, I guess, is the answer to that question. And that's why I live in the mountains, so that I can be free. This next question, I actually got a lot of this kind of question. How do you cope with feelings of sadness or loneliness? When I feel sad, I cry, and I listen to music. And when I feel lonely, I call my mom. But I actually don't feel lonely or sad very often, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, I'm pretty content with being alone. I really like it. I love just sitting in my bed, reading a book and writing and just hanging out in my house. I love climbing mountains and swimming, and I don't know. I like being alone, so it's not really a bother to me. But did you go to college, and if so, what did you study? I did go to college, and I was studying chemistry and biology and a little bit of ecology. There was a lot of reasons why I didn't finish, but mostly financial reasons. I didn't want to graduate with a lot of loans and kind of feeling stuck, because once you do that, you are kind of stuck in your life. And I could never have built this house if I had a bunch of student loans to pay off. So I don't know, pretty grateful for that decision. I'm really happy that that's what I had decided to do. I mean, in the future, if I have the financial means, I would love to go back to school. Like, I would love this more than anything in the world, but it just doesn't really make sense right now. How/where do you get your energy from for the house? This was a big part of the build, like a big decision I guess I had to make. Initially, I really wanted to do solar panels, but logistically, we have about 1 hour of sunlight per day here in this valley. And yeah, I kind of talked to some people who knew a lot about solar panels, and it just wouldn't have worked. Like, I wouldn't have been able to have power. So then I thought maybe I could just build this place without needing electricity, like doing gravity-fed water systems and stuff like this. But also logistically, that just didn't pencil out. It didn't make any sense, because the reality is I had the ability to tap into the power grid. I dug a ditch about 400 feet and ran conduit underground, and I'm plugged in to a box that supplies me with 30 amps of power, which is really not very much, but it's also extremely nice to have a consistent source of power. Yeah, you know, tiny houses in and of itself are extremely efficient because you're only heating the space that you're using. Like in a normal size house, you heat your whole house, but you only really use like 1 or 2 rooms. But in a tiny house, it's like everything you're doing is very, very efficient. So I'm not too worried about the 30 amps of power that I'm running to here. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that is such a low impact. There was so much to worry about during this build that penciling in solar panels, just not an option. So yeah, I have 30 amps, which is really nice. But that only really allows me to run the fridge, and then at night I can run a small electric heater, but then I have to unplug that in the morning and then heat with wood so I can do other things, like if I wanted to have hot water for washing dishes, and then like I can use a blender. Yeah, it's really nice to have a consistent source of power to my fridge, because that was one thing. It was like if I had solar panels and I didn't have energy and the fridge was turning off and on all the time, that would be really inefficient. Yeah, it didn't really make any sense. Someone asked me, what time do you wake up in the morning? On average, I probably wake up at like 5 a.m. Recently, I've been waking up at 4. Sometimes I wake up at 3. Sometimes I sleep in and I wake up at 7, but that's pretty rare. Somebody asked me, why do you always cook so much food? I mean, isn't it too much for one person? Question mark. They also had a heart, so I'm assuming they weren't trying to be mean, even though that's a little bit offending, because it's not too much for one person, and I eat all of it, so it's kind of awkward. Are you planning on going back to India anytime soon? Of course, I would love to go back to India. We're having a little bit of an issue here in the world. Traveling isn't possible, but yeah, once traveling is available to the general public, I will be going straight back to India and doing another teacher training. I have my 200-hour yoga teacher certificate. I got that in India, but I want to go back and do another one because that's what I love. I love yoga. I've been doing it since I was 14 or 15. Somebody asked me, what is that silver pot you use to cook things? Oh, that is called a pressure cooker, and basically what it does is it pressurizes food and cooks it so much more efficiently than just having like a pot on the stove. Pressure cookers are amazing. My life changed when I started using those because they're just so efficient and they cook things so quickly. How do you get internet access where you live? There is no cell phone service in this whole valley. So you have to drive about 30 minutes to get cell reception. We have a little satellite dish, but even that doesn't really work very well. It goes off and on all the time. It's so slow. To upload a video, it takes me like 24 hours to upload it. I usually end up staying up all night because the internet will turn off, and then when it turns back on, the upload won't continue. So I'm just up all night basically watching this thing upload. It's just ridiculous, but that's just how it works here because yeah, there's not really another option, I guess. But I love not having phone service because when I'm in this tiny house, I am completely disconnected from the world and it's great. I love it. How much are you earning from YouTube videos now? I'm not earning any money from YouTube and I never have. Because I use commercialized music, I cannot monetize my videos. Yeah, YouTube is not a way that I earn any money. I got this question so much, which is kind of ridiculous, but so many people ask me if I'm like in a relationship or have a boyfriend. The answer is no. That's the answer. Somebody asked me, do you have a team? Do you edit your videos? I do not have a team. It is just me and that is it. Yeah, I edit and film everything. Somebody asked me what my work is. I work at a grocery store actually. I used to work full-time as a yoga teacher, but since this whole craziness has happened with the world, yeah, yoga classes obviously aren't happening. When I moved out here, I got a job at a grocery store. And I love my job. It would be too hard for my creative brain to rely on filmmaking and videos as my source of income because then I would be making stuff just to make money and that I think would be really hard. having a different way of making money is good for me, because then it doesn't put so much pressure on my creativeness, and if I don't want to do something, I don't have to. I just do it because I love to, right? So I don't have to post, and if I stopped posting, my life wouldn't really change that much. I could still make money and work, and yeah, so that's worked really well for me to do it that way. It would be really nice to be able to have more time and energy to focus on filmmaking and doing a more diverse array of projects, like perhaps doing other things. But yeah, this past year I've been working at the grocery store. It's been great fun. Somebody asked me, what do you love about life? You know what I love about life? I love that I can run through a meadow and just breathe and scream and drink river water and climb a mountain and dance and just be free. I just love these feelings of being free. What were you like in high school? What was your life like in college? Oh my gosh. Well, personality-wise, I think I've been pretty much the same throughout the years. What was my life like in college? Well, for part of it, I lived in the basement of a church with maybe like 20 other people. My landlord was a pastor, Pastor Tim, amazing person. I shared a room with this beautiful girl named Milana. We slept on the floor. We went on adventures. I didn't really have any friends besides these two people who lived in the church with me. I didn't really have that many friends in high school. I didn't actually go to a lot of high school because I did this thing called Running Start, where basically you don't go to high school and you go to community college instead. So I spent a lot of time not in high school because I really didn't like high school at all. Girls were really mean to me. People made fun of me. A lot of people made fun of my eyebrows. Guys didn't like me. I never had a boyfriend in high school because people didn't think I was very attractive. And that made me sad and caused some emotional scarring, possibly. In college, I was in love with this guy. We kind of dated for a couple of years, and I actually don't think he ever really liked me, to be honest. And that was a little bit sad. But I was in love with him, regardless of that. You know what? Not having very many friends over the years has really shaped me, and it's also made me feel incredible amounts of gratitude towards the friends that I do currently have, and not to take anything for granted. So, you know, I'm glad I didn't really have any friends in the grand scheme of things. Somebody asked me, are you currently in love? Of course I'm currently in love. I'm in love with life. You know, actually, I was walking through the forest this morning, and there was the most beautiful bird I have ever seen, and you don't see very many birds around the snow often. Little bird that had these white spots everywhere, and it was so beautiful, and I've been looking up in my bird book all morning to try to figure out what kind of bird it was. But anyways, point of the story is I fell in love with that bird. We stared at each other for like 2 minutes, and I think we had like a telepathic conversation. I was trying to tell it that it was really beautiful, and it just stared at me for so long. So yeah, I fell in love this morning with the bird. Also, I'm in love with everyone in my life, and my family, and all of you guys I have so much love for. I'm in love all day, every day. What is your next big goal? Are you planning on living in the mountains forever? I spent a lot of time this past year working a ton and also building this house, so I didn't really have time for much else. This year I really would like to focus more on my creative passions and improving my skills in videography and filmmaking. I would like to diversify the type of things that I am creating and perhaps maybe film like short documentaries. I would love to do that. Not necessarily about like my life, about things that I'm really passionate about. Just focusing more basically on my creative ideas, I guess. Of course I plan on living in the mountains forever. I am a witch and I will dance around these mountains for the rest of my life, although I don't think I will live here full-time forever because I am 22 and I have so many things that I want to do in my life before I decide like to be here full-time forever. I don't know if I want to remain isolated for the rest of my life. Maybe once I'm like 35, I can just decide, yep, this is it. I'm staying here for the rest of my life. But until then, I do want to go off and, you know, do other things and meet people and fall in love and, you know, things like that that a 22-year-old dreams about. I do want to be here forever, but maybe not full time. I actually have some plans this winter to go off and do some other fun things. So that's an exciting thing to look forward to, I guess. Did you have many followers before you posted on YouTube, or was it after? Yeah, I didn't have any followers before I made videos. I just thought one day, you know, it would be really interesting to start documenting during a time that I hated my life and wasn't doing at all what I wanted to be doing, and see where that story went, you know, see where I could get to, I guess. And it was more just like for myself, like I just wanted to document this process, I guess. And that's how it all started. I just, you know, started making videos and nobody watched them for probably about a year. Somebody asked me, what do you dream about? Dream. I wonder if they mean dream as in sleeping dream. In real life, I dream about, you know, of course, like some sort of prince climbing over the mountains on his horse and, you know, asking to marry me. But of course that hasn't happened yet. I don't know what I dream about. I dream about vegetables. That's a good answer. Okay, so I think that's all the questions I'm gonna answer. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Probably really boring. I don't know what it was about, but yeah, I'm gonna go run around in the snow because it's snowing and it's really beautiful. And I just want to dance for the rest of the day. Yep.
Ocean.